Derrick Lewis versus Chris Daukaus takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC Fight Night Vegas 45, Lewis versus Daukaus, and I can't wait for this heavyweight main event. Two big power punchers in the heavyweight division. The final card of the year will end with a bang. I think they've purposefully made this the final fight of the year because this is genuinely the main event of the final card of the year. They put two big power punchers in the heavyweight division in the main event. It's most likely going to end by KO. They want to finish the end with an amazing bout, and this one should be an amazing bout unless I've just jinxed it and they go out there and stand in front of each other and look at each other for 3 rounds like Ngannou versus Lewis did when we all thought that was going to be an amazing heavyweight bout. But this one genuinely should be a great heavyweight bout. Daukaus has got momentum. Lewis is fighting for relevancy right now in the heavyweight division, so he needs this win. It's a huge one. Big fight in the heavyweight division. Number 3 in the world, Derrick Lewis versus number 7 in the world, Chris Daukaus. He slowly crept his way up the division, beating Shamil Abdurakhimov in his last fight very impressively. KO'd him twice in that fight as well, but there were some problems and red flags in that fight that I do want to mention because I literally just watched it back because the UFC posted it on YouTube. There are some problems in that Daukaus versus Abdurakhimov fight, but still Chris Daukaus has slowly worked his way through the heavyweight division. I say slowly. It's been very quick, in all honesty. He started in the UFC in 2020 in August. It's been just over a year, and Chris Daukaus might earn himself a title shot with a win over Derrick Lewis. If he does win, of course. But he beat Parker Porter in his debut, destroyed him in a round, and I know that didn't look like a good win at the time. I even picked Parker Porter because I didn't know much about Chris Daukaus. His wins weren't too impressive, and also he hadn't really beaten too many great opponents whatsoever. No good opponents on his resume, so I actually picked Parker Porter to win that one. But Parker Porter since then is on a 2-fight win streak. One over Josh Parisian, one over Chase Sherman. I know they're not the biggest names, but still, he's better than the absolute bottom of the heavyweight division. So that win has actually aged quite well for Chris Daukaus. He also got a big win over Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira when Nascimento Ferreira was undefeated, which is a great win too. Nascimento Ferreira recently bounced back with a win over Alan Badeau, but it got overturned to a no contest because, of course, I think he tested positive for some kind of roid situation. And if he did test positive for some roids, then that makes Chris Daukaus' win look even better there as well, because most likely he was taking on a roided up Nascimento Ferreira. By the way, if it was roids and Nascimento Ferreira did take some PEDs, he needs some new PEDs because he still looks like shit. But either way, Chris Daukaus then took on Alexei Oleinik. Dangerous matchup for him. If he gets taken down, it could be all over. But still, he goes out there, stuffs an early takedown against Oleinik, pieces him up on the feet, brutally butchers him in the first round, batters him against a cage and finishes him by TKO. And then more recently, he beat Shamil Abdurakhimov. But after Abdurakhimov had some long time off, wasn't really too committed to his fight career. It was supposed to happen before that in July of this year. So this rise would have been even quicker if that Shamil Abdurakhimov fight happened in July like it should have done. But it got rescheduled to September and he finished Shamil Abdurakhimov in the second round. Basically finished him in the first round anyway, but Abdurakhimov got saved by the bell. Then he finished him in the second round for good measure, just to make sure. 2 KOs in one night for Chris Daukaus. And he's taking on Derrick Lewis, who just got completely embarrassed and destroyed by Cyril Garm. Is the only way I can break it down. I called it would happen. I said he would get TKO'd in round 3, and I said that Cyril Garm wouldn't get touched and would completely destroy him. But of course, everyone was saying, but Derrick Lewis always has that one good punch that he could land and change the entire fight. You never know what Derrick Lewis is going to do. He's always got that one punch. Sure, Curtis Blades should beat him, but he flatlines Curtis Blades in the second round with a wrist. He didn't even land it clean on Curtis Blades. He landed a wrist on Curtis Blades, and down goes Curtis Blades after beating him the entire fight. Same situation against Oleinik. Oleinik was beating him, had him in a scarf hold in the first round, was doing good, but then Lewis, of course, rained down shots to the back of the head of Oleinik after landing a big left hook that put him down. Good job there. Won a decision against Latifi, questionable. Won a decision against Blagoy Ivanov, very questionable. I don't believe that Derrick Lewis loses this one. I think Derrick Lewis is going to win this one by KO in the first round. I think this is one of the easiest fights in Derrick Lewis's career. I watched back Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Chris Daukaus, and I really changed my opinion of Chris Daukaus. Not just when I watched it back, I changed my opinion when I first watched the fight happen in the first place. I mentioned after the fight happened, even on my Fight Companion stream, like, hang on, You can't just be walking into shots like that. That's really dangerous in the heavyweight division, because although Chris Daukaus landed the big shots and Paul Felder was being completely biased on the commentary, and they were basically guzzling the chode of Chris Daukaus the entire fight long because they wanted him to beat that no-name of Shamil Abdurakhimov and build a new prospect in Chris Daukaus in the heavyweight division, but they weren't mentioning that Chris Daukaus was walking into so many shots of Shamil Abdurakhimov, and Abdurakhimov is not Derrick Lewis. I know that might be shocking to you, but he's not quite Derrick Lewis when it comes to punch power, or punch speed, or punch skill in general. Shamil's quite good, he's good at grappling, he's got a decent stand-up game, but after that long off, for him to be finding range on you early on in that first round, when you're the guy who's been more active than him, and still, he's landing those big shots on your chin as you wade forward. And it's not just that he was eating shots to give him back and that's his game plan. He was getting shocked by these shots. Like, oh my god, I got hit there? Wow, I didn't know I could get hit from that range. It was like a real eye-opener for me that he doesn't quite have this striking game as figured out as maybe we would assume by his earlier performances. Because again, if Shamil is landing that many shots on your chin in that fight, Lewis needs one of those shots and it could be all over. Like Shamil Abdurakhimov, let me find the stats of the first round. I'm sure the strikes were quite even until the end. Daukaus rained down a bunch of shots at the end. I believe about like 8 or 10 shots. But before that, it might have been even on strikes. Daukaus landing some good leg kicks, a couple of good shots here and there. Shamil going to the body, a couple of leg kicks himself, more leg kicks than Daukaus. Another few shots to the head as well. But Chris Daukaus, of course, finished really strong, so the stats are pretty skewed. But either way, Shamil was landing a bunch of huge shots. And I think if Derrick Lewis lands those same shots, which I believe he can, Daukaus ain't taking them. I don't care how good his beard is. I like that he grew the beard. It looks good on him. But either way, it ain't going to help you against Derrick Lewis. I'm picking Derrick Lewis to KO him in the first round. I think it's going to be the easiest fight of Lewis's career. I think Daukaus is going to go out there, look for his movement, try and scoot around, and then look for a big exchange to go in and land, and immediately get clipped on the chin and put down and put out. And I think there's going to be a bunch of memes. BLM this, because of course the ex-convict in Derrick Lewis beat the police officer in Chris Daukaus. I can only imagine the memes on either side of the fucking of the result of this fight. Like, if Chris Daukaus lays out Derrick Lewis out cold, I just want to see a meme of Daukaus looking over the limp body of Derrick Lewis and then just like a burning city on the next frame or something. I can already see the memes in my head about this matchup, but either way, I believe Derrick Lewis will land those big shots in the first round and will put out Chris Daukaus, because Derrick Lewis, you don't normally notice it because he's taken on guys like Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades, and other guys like that recently in his career. But he's a giant man. He is a massive man for that division. Tall for a 6'3" guy. 79-inch reach. 264 pounds. 264.5 pounds is what he last weighed in at. And that's him cutting down to heavyweight. So he might weigh something, in my opinion, probably like something like 275 pounds. Most certainly at least 275 pounds, I would say. And he's taken on Chris Daukaus here, who in his last weigh-in against Shamil Abdurakhimov weighed in at 231 pounds. That's a 40-pound weight difference that might hit you on the chin, and probably will, judging by your distance control shown against Shamil Abdurakhimov. 40 pounds of Derrick Lewis weight difference. I like Daukaus. I've picked Daukaus every fight outside of his debut. As soon as I saw him in his debut, I was like, right, I think he beats everyone. Picked him against everyone. I don't know after that Shamil fight, man. I know he looked good, and it's a great performance, right? TKO, second round, that's all you hear about it. 2 knockdowns, wow. Amazing knockdown by Chris Daukaus. Amazing knockout victory. The shots that he was getting hit with. It wasn't even that Shamil was doing anything good. That's the problem. It's not like Shamil was looking better than ever on the feet, and wow, Shamil's looking really good. His stand-up is massively improved. No. It was Shamil winging blind shots at Daukaus' head, and Daukaus just walking into them. Like, I want to say there was at least 5 of those examples in the first round of their fight that they had. And I believe if Derrick Lewis lands one of those, it's all over. It's all over for Chris Daukaus. And Derrick Lewis will be victorious. They're both the same height, apparently, both 6'3". Derrick Lewis has got a reach advantage of 3 inches, which is going to be beneficial for him here, especially because Daukaus couldn't really control the range of Shamil Abdurakhimov in certain moments. Shamil also had a 76-inch reach. Lewis has got 3 inches longer than Shamil, 3 inches longer than Chris Daukaus. I feel like it's a problem. He's going to catch him, and Daukaus ain't going to find the range early. Maybe his activity and momentum will benefit him because he's been so active recently. He is tearing through competition in his prime, 32 years of age. But I feel like Derrick Lewis is looking to come back with a vengeance because he immediately turned around after that Cyril Gane loss. And Derrick Lewis doesn't take too much damage if he loses because he does just genuinely quit. I know it's a bit taboo to say because he's a tough man UFC fighter, but let's be real. Lewis will get jabbed in the face and then act like something's wrong with his eye and now he's quitting on us, or he's swinging back and then he'll get teeped and act like something's wrong, but it's not. Like, Derrick Lewis has a very weird... He can quit sometimes, okay, when he doesn't like the matchup in front of him. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think both guys are going to be hesitant. Daukaus is going to go in for a big 3-shot combo, trying to land as he lunges forward. And Lewis is just going to plant one big shot with a big overhand right, sit down on his shot, and flatline Chris Daukaus in the first round. Great matchup, though. But again, I don't mind the idea of Derrick Lewis shooting a takedown. Derrick Lewis is maybe the most devastating ground and pound artist in the history of the UFC. MMA, maybe. If you end up with Derrick Lewis on top of you, you're in big problems. Chris Daukaus isn't much of a jiu-jitsu guy. I know he does jiu-jitsu and stuff, and he has got some submissions in his career, but he's typically not a grappling guy. And if Lewis can use that little sweep that he does, where he runs into you and does that sort of Carlos, I think it's called like a running man sweep or something like that. Carlos Condit did it to Matt Brown. Max Holloway did it to Anthony Pettis twice in their fight as well. Little running man sweep where you go behind him with your legs and use your momentum to sort of chuck him over your own leg without even using your hands. It's a very effective technique. But I think Derrick Lewis might be able to pull that one off on Chris Daukaus, who stands very tall. Could even end up on top at one point. And this is... I don't believe any of this happens, but it could happen, so I'm going to weigh it into my prediction. Plus, Derrick Lewis is the underdog here. I like those odds on Derrick Lewis. I like an underdog pick here of Derrick Lewis. And if he can end up on top of Daukaus, he's got a 45-pound weight advantage at least. 45-pound weight advantage. 45-pound Derrick Lewis weight advantage at least. You know, it's not going to be foreign power to him. He's felt big power before. Although that fight against Ngannou wasn't the most entertaining, he did get hit by Ngannou in that fight, and he took it. Like, Derrick Lewis does get peppered apart sometimes and slowly broken down in fights, but he can take a decent shot. Like, he's not really the guy to just completely go out cold from a punch. It's happened before in his career, I know, but still, he's not the kind of guy to completely face plant and just... He's not a chinny guy. He just doesn't have the best durability in terms of a well-rounded, tough guy. Let's be real. But I feel like Derrick Lewis is going to get this one done. First round KO, big right hand, as Daukaus goes in for an exchange, and Daukaus is out cold, and the winner of this one is in a great position in the heavyweight division because... title elimination bouts galore right now. If Derrick Lewis wins, first of all, he'll probably move above Stipe Miocic in the rankings because Miocic has been inactive. So he'll take the number 2 position, puts him in position to maybe take on a guy like John Jones, maybe take on a guy like Stipe Miocic, maybe take on a guy like Ngannou anyway, if Ngannou beats Gane, and no one's fought yet, and Stipe still hasn't fought at all, and doesn't want to earn himself a title shot whatsoever, because he wants to sit on the sideline and act like he's deserved it again, because he already got one of those rematches, and now he deserves another one, because he defended the belt once in the meantime, so there's that. But I feel like if Stipe doesn't take a fight, and Derrick Lewis wins this one, and Ngannou maybe beats Gane and is looking to stay active, you could do Derrick Lewis versus Ngannou too, because again, Ngannou lost to Derrick Lewis. That's a lot of value to hold over a champion if you're a contender in his division. But what I do believe will happen is Derrick Lewis will beat Chris Daukaus. They'll make Derrick Lewis versus Stipe Miocic for a title shot, and they'll figure out the rest of the division below that. There's no way they're rewarding Curtis Blaydes with anything anytime soon. He's probably going to have to rematch Alexander Volkov in the main event of a fight night. At least that's what I would assume would happen. But either way, Good matchups at heavyweight. I hope Daukaus wins, honestly, because he's a new name. He's one of the new wave guys in the heavyweight division. I just don't think he's got the size. And I also believe there's an aspect of Derrick Lewis's game which is an intimidation factor against a bigger opponent, like an Ngannou, or not a bigger opponent, but a similarly sized opponent, let's just say. And Ngannou, a Curtis Blade, he's very shelled up, he tucks himself away, whereas against Blagoy-Ivanov, he's a bit more willing to sort of go after him in certain moments and unload and not really fear the power coming back. Same thing against Ilir Latifi whenever they were standing up. Lewis would just go after him with shot after shot after shot. He seems a lot more willing to go forward and trade against people that aren't this big looming figure in front of him that's got range on him, that's picking him apart. Like a Blades, like a Garn, like a JDS, and stuff like that. Of course, he lost to DC as well, which is a different kind of style matchup because DC's a wrestler. But either way, I do believe that Derrick Lewis is going to win this one. He's not got a big guy in front of him. He's got a 45-pound weight advantage. He's Derrick Lewis. Daukaus gets hit on the chin. We saw that against Shamil Abdurakhimov, who is not a good fighter himself and had a bunch of time off. And if he, after a bunch of time off of not competing, when was the last time Shamil fought before that fight with Daukaus? 2 years before. Over 2 years off. Shamil Abdurakhimov can come back in and have better range finding than Daukaus in that first round, at least until the end of the first round. I think Lewis, who's been active, fought in August, has spite right now because he got embarrassed in front of his hometown, is looking to get the win back before Christmas and get right back in the win column and back on track towards the World Championship. I reckon Derrick Lewis gets this one done by first round KO. Like and subscribe, click that button up there. Toodle pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye. Derrick Lewis, right hand, KO, first round, out cold, follow-up shots for sure.